On Her Majesty's Secret Service was released in 1969 and considered by some to be the black sheep of the James Bond series. Sean Connery was out, and to replace him, not an actor but an Australian model by the name of George Lazenby. With no prior acting experience in the film industry, this was to be his first major motion picture as 007, and his last. In it, James Bond is still searching for Blofeld after the events of You Only Live Twice. He finds a lead through crime kingpin Mark Draco in exchange for dating his daughter Tracy, where a true love eventually blossoms. It's revealed Blofeld is preparing for biological warfare in the Swiss Alps, unless his demand of complete amnesty by the United Nations is met. On Her Majesty's Secret Service differs much more than just a man playing Bond. The whole film appears to have a different tone compared to the likes of Thunderball and You Only Live Twice. Those films increasingly strayed away from the source material of Fleming's novels, and instead became bigger and more excessive. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, however, strips back to the basics, downplaying gadgets and adhering to Fleming's novel, the closest any Bond film had so far. And from doing so, it lets Bond display more aspects of his spy talents. When Blofeld requests genealogist Sir Hilary Bray from the Royal College of Arms to research his family tree, Bond instead impersonates him in order to gain entry to the villain's headquarters. Gadgetless, he also has to escape through unconventional methods, and often is only left with his ingenuity to succeed. Nonetheless, this close tie to the novel does have a downside. It can be said the film sticks too closely to Fleming's plot, which often leaves it bogged down in a story that works in writing, but not necessarily on film. At times it's apparent that On Her Majesty's Secret Service has trouble explaining the narrative, often doing so in large unflattering chunks of information, such as when Bond details his plan to M.
This is a photostat copy of a letter addressed to our College of Arms in the City of London, with the request that they undertake to establish de Blocham's claim to the title. And Sir Hilary Bray, he's the sable basilisk of the college, has replied to Gumball suggesting that he should meet de Blochamp in person. Now, I've already taken the liberty, sir, of working with the college on this, using an examination of my own family tree as cover. I've also been reading up on the technical side of heraldry. Sir Hilary Bray...
Whew, say that again? As for the man himself, George Lazenby's Bond is certainly up to par. In the face of critics who immediately dismissed him as a disappointing successor to Connery, he delivers a worthy performance, upholding all the main elements of the Bond character. The romancing, the action, the humour, and the looks. Well, most of the time anyway. Arguably, Lazenby had more of a challenge due to the romance of the film, where Bond eventually finds the woman with whom he wants to marry, only to lose her so quickly. The irony is that sort of characterisation is exactly what Connery was after, more so than the standard kiss kiss bang bang of his films. Not only did Bond change, but so did Blofeld, this time played by Telly Savalas. A far cry from Donald Pleasance, this Blofeld is a lot gruffer and hands-on. What he lacks in understatement is made up for by his increased screen time. No more chair swivelling, this Blofeld is skiing, bobsleighing and romancing his way through the film. It explains why Donald Pleasance didn't return. It's difficult to imagine his Blofeld doing this. The film does suffer from an identity crisis at times, unsure of whether to dwell on the change of Bond or not. For the most part, it attempts to connect to Connery's films, be it through the montage in the title sequence or showing off Bond's souvenirs from previous missions. Other times they outright comment on it, in doing so breaking the fourth wall no less.
This never happened to the other fella.
But the most glaring fault in On Her Majesty's Secret Service lies at the very end. Moments after their marriage, Tracy is killed in a drive-by shooting by Blofeld. The film concludes as Bond breaks down in tears, accompanied by John Barry's beautiful instrumental of We Have All the Time in the World. Then someone decided to cram in the Bond theme.
There's no hurry, you see. We have all the time in the world.
What on earth were they thinking? It does such an injustice to Lazenby's performance, as well as Barry's wonderful score. Due to multiple reasons, Lazenby did not return for the film sequel, as per his contract. Whilst the film had certainly not flopped as many like to imagine, it did underperform when compared to You Only Live Twice. Now without a leading actor, and decreasing profits, the producers turned to the only man they could rely on,